Welcome back to 7 at 4. For this week's Hometown Veterans Honoring Our Heroes, we take you to Roanoke, Virginia to meet Steve Porter. Now, we heard about his story after his neighbor called in to WDBJ7 to tell us about a man who served our country well and, to this day, still shows great resilience. Steve Porter was born in West Virginia, but then moved to Roanoke with his parents as a teenager. He joined the United States Air Force in 1989 and served in maintenance and eventually became a recruiter in the Lynchburg area. After serving 22 years with the military, Porter is retired and living back in his hometown of Roanoke. And we are so honored here today because we are able to have Steve Porter in studio with us today. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, so good to have you today. So we heard a little bit of your story, and we know that you joined the United States Air Force in 1989. You weren't drafted. This is something that you actually volunteered for. What was the reason?
Well, I've always wanted to serve, even as you know, as a young child, and I grew up in a family of military. My father was military. He did 3 tours of Nam, and every one of his brothers were in the military, from Korea to Vietnam all the way to World War II. So
definitely a family history there.
Absolutely.
Trying to honor that legacy. And you definitely did, serving 22 years. Now, you were in the service during 9/11 when that all happened. Do you remember where you were that day and kind of the tone of the soldiers you served with?
I do remember I was actually in Lynchburg. I was a recruiter at the time. And, you know, we got a call from our headquarters saying that you need to button up your office, go home, and wait for further instructions. As a recruiter, I had kids that I'd put in as a recruiter who were actually at a hotel in Richmond waiting to leave for basic training the next day. They canceled all the flights. They had us, you know, go up, pick them up, bring them all back home, and wait for further instructions. So it was a pretty tense time.
Yeah, pretty tense. And I got to ask, Steve, obviously being a recruiter at that time, was it difficult to recruit people after that, or did you have people kind of flooding in willing to go fight for the country?
You would think it may have been difficult, but September of 2001 was the best month I ever had as a recruiter. I put in 7 people that month.
Wow.
So.
Okay, a lot of people with a serving heart for sure.
Absolutely.
And I think we see that with you as well, just wanting to keep up that family legacy. Now, obviously, one of the things we had discussed was that you never actually served in combat, but for 1 year, from 96 to 97, you were in the Korean Peninsula. Can you explain for people who may not know what that was like and what was going on at the time?
Well, you know, it wasn't an actual combat, but, you know, North and South Korea are technically still at war, you know, that it's not ended. So over there, I basically did the job that I normally would do, you know, anywhere else, but there were a lot of war games, a lot of wearing chem suits, a lot of alarms, a lot of alerts.
Yeah, a dangerous area for sure. A lot of folks don't realize that just South Korea, North Korea, and the tense that's still going on there, the tension. Now, after serving 22 years, you were able to get out of the military. You retired from the United States Air Force. Now, typically that transition is very tough for a lot of people, getting back into the civilian world. What was it like adjusting for you?
It was hard, you know. In 22 years, you become very regimented about what you do. This time, every day. Even to this day, you know, I still live with a planner. You know, I plan my days out. Even on my days off, I always make sure I have something to do, and I literally will go in and mark it through. If I've completed it, and if I haven't, I will push it to the right another day. I've gotten better, but I still like structure just because I've gotten so used to it.
Hey, makes sense. Now, I know that recently you've been through a lot of battles, specifically stage 3 colon cancer. Can you tell us a little bit about that battle and just kind of what you've been going through?
I had a physical last year, and just a routine physical. I felt fine, no problems, but my doctor called and told me that we'd seen something we didn't like, and we wanted you to go ahead and have a colonoscopy. And when they did, they found a tumor, and you know, they were pretty aggressive about getting it taken care of. I went through chemo, radiation, and I'm happy to say that August I was given the, you know, I guess the all clear, you know, that I'm in remission. So.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I know one thing you said, Steve, just, you know, spending that much time in the military, whatever it may be, you also went through some things with your son. And that's one of the things that you opened up to me about in his death. Can you tell folks listening today what you've been through with that?
Yeah, in 2018, my youngest son committed suicide. It was shocking to all of us, of course, and it's tough, every day has been tough, most days.
Sure.
But a lot of people thought that the death of my son would put me in a really bad place. But what it did is it drew God to me, and increased my faith exponentially. I think that even though I was in the military, some of the hardest battles you'll fight are not in a foreign land and against an enemy you can't see, but are sometimes very, very close to home.
Wow, Steve, a very powerful story for sure. And I know now you're spending your days in retirement taking care of your parents now. So your dad, who did 3 tours in Vietnam, you're now taking care of. What an honor.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
and thank you so much for joining us here on 7 at 4 today. Hometown Veterans Honoring Our Heroes is such an honor because we get to hear from people like you sharing your story, so thank you.
Thank you so much.
7 at 4 will be right back after this.